At 3:17 a.m., the bridge is quiet enough to hear steel breathe.
This ship is a floating city. Metal boxes stacked high, carrying ordinary life across dangerous water. On the radar, the coastline is a thin line, too close for comfort, too far to predict.
Then the warning comes. Calm words that try to outrun fear. Possible inbound. All stations, brace!
For half a second, nothing changes, except the human part of the system.
A flash blooms on the horizon, too far to feel, close enough to be real. Thousands of miles away, other screens wake up. Traders, insurers, planners, each translating fear into price.
One missile in the Red Sea, and gasoline in American Europe starts to twitch.
In London, an underwriter named Mariam reads the report before sunrise.
She doesn't see ships as romance. She sees them as risk wrapped in steel.
Name, flag, route, cargo. Each detail is a lever that raises or lowers the cost of fear. War risk insurance is an invisible tax that appears the moment the world stops behaving.
The Red Sea is a corridor, efficient on calm days, terrifying when it can be pinched. A shortcut saves money until a single threat turns it into the most expensive path on Earth.
A tiny percentage becomes a giant number when the thing insured is a skyscraper on its side.
Her premium decides, go through Suez or detour around Africa and pray.
Because that number doesn't stay in London. It travels quietly into delivery times and fuel costs.
In Rotterdam, Stefan manages a web of promises. Your shipment arrives Tuesday. Your factory never stops.
But sea routes are starting to behave like politics. Abrupt, emotional, and contagious.
When carriers detour around the Cape, the voyage grows by weeks, and schedules lose their certainty.
A week at sea isn't just a week. It steals the ship from its next trip.
Longer routes quietly tighten capacity. The world needs more ships to do the same work.
Delays pile up at ports, and the cost shows up as overtime, storage fees, and stressed humans.
Every late container forces small decisions. Raise prices, change suppliers, or pause production. In logistics, arrival time turns from a promise into a guess, and guesses are expensive. In Houston, Elena redraws refinery plans because fuel is a schedule before it's a product. Crude arrives, gets processed, leaves as gasoline. Flow matters more than headlines. But oil is also financial. If risk rises, prices move before the barrels do. When ships detour or wait, supply gets tied up at sea. Inventory becomes time stuck on water.
Traders add a risk premium, a small fear surcharge that spreads through diesel, jet fuel, and gasoline.
It's not magic, just math reacting faster than ships can sail.
On board, Captain Nader doesn't see spreadsheets. He sees horizon, radar, and human nerves. They keep moving, because stopping in a corridor can be more dangerous than continuing. A young engineer whispers, "Why attack a ship full of microwaves and shoes?"
The captain answers, "It's not about cargo. It's about the message."
Global trade isn't a machine. It's agreements about what humans won't do to each other. When those agreements wobble, the system doesn't explode. It reroutes, insures, and reprices. A decision in London becomes a detour in Rotterdam and a tighter fuel plan in Houston. And in Ohio, Dave just wants to fill the tank and get to work. He doesn't think about choke points. He thinks about budgets, holidays, and paychecks that feel smaller.
A headline says ships are avoiding the Red Sea again. It feels distant, so he scrolls past.
But distance is an illusion. The corridor's disruption squeezes time and cost, and the pump eventually listens. The sea stays blue, the horizon stays quiet, and that quiet is what markets fear most.
Ukraine, the Middle East, the Red Sea, separate conflicts, but one shared outcome. Routes become uncertain. In the Black Sea, risk reshaped grain and energy flows, forcing detours and raising the cost of safety.
In the Middle East, violence spilled outward until shipping lanes stopped feeling like neutral ground.
For supply chains, uncertainty isn't drama. It's calendar math that ruins every plan. A factory can halt for one tiny part because global production is a puzzle with no spare pieces.
Longer voyages mean more fuel burned, more time exposed, and more chances for a single incident to change everything.
Markets don't wait for confirmation. They price probability, the chance that tomorrow's shipment won't arrive. On the ship, procedure replaces panic. Check stations, secure equipment, keep moving forward. Because the threat isn't just damage, it's doubt, spreading across oceans faster than any vessel. Doubt is contagious. It turns a corridor into a question mark and a timetable into a gamble.
Insurance doesn't create danger, but it prices danger, and that price decides who dares to sail.
Logistics runs on tight timing. When one block slips, the whole tower shakes.
Ships arrive late together, not late alone, and ports choke when timing collapses into a rush. Storage fills, fees rise, and companies pay for space they never planned to rent. Food feels it first, because people can delay gadgets, but they can't delay dinner.
Industry feels it next because machines don't negotiate with missing parts.
Energy sits underneath everything. When fuel costs shift, every other cost leans with it.
So a threat at sea becomes a bid in a market, and the bid becomes tomorrow's wholesale price. Security escorts help, but the question remains, how much safety must be purchased to keep trade moving? As attacks rise, premiums rise, sometimes doubling, until the cheap route is no longer cheap.
When enough vessels divert, freight rates climb, not out of greed, but out of scarcity.
The system is simple. Fewer available ships means higher prices for everyone competing for space. Dave doesn't track freight indexes, but he feels them when the tank empties faster than his paycheck.
Across Europe, the same risk premium echoes. Transport costs rise, and small businesses quietly adjust.
Jet fuel, diesel, gasoline, different products, same nervous system when supply feels fragile.
Each new incident refreshes fear, and fear keeps rewriting routes, even when the sea looks calm.
She knows risk isn't linear. It jumps, suddenly, when the world proves it can break rules.
A delay today becomes congestion tomorrow, and congestion becomes higher freight rates next month.
Refineries plan weeks ahead, but shipping risk forces constant improvisation, like steering a train with a joystick.
This is the hidden lesson. The world is connected by thin strands, and conflict plucks them.
Captain Nader knows the cargo is ordinary, yet the route has become a stage for power.
Choke points concentrate efficiency, and they concentrate vulnerability. That is the bargain we all signed. Suez saves time, so the world leans on it. until a threat makes the shortcut feel like a trap. Energy, food, industrial goods, these don't just move. They anchor daily life and politics. When costs rise, households feel it as stress, small frictions that pile into anger and blame.
And that stress feeds politics, which feeds more tension, closing the loop that started on the sea.
In boardrooms, the question isn't moral, it's operational. Which route is survivable at a price?
Companies respond by holding more inventory, paying for safety with space, cash, and patience.
Energy buyers diversify suppliers, but diversification is slower than a crisis and costlier than a shortcut. Navies can patrol lanes, but they can't patrol confidence. Confidence is rebuilt, or it isn't. The world experiments. Different ports, different corridors, even seasonal routes once considered impossible.
When ships avoid Suez, entire countries feel the loss. Trade lanes are also national lifelines.
The sun rises like nothing happened, yet the system has already changed its behavior.
We now face a choice. Keep chasing efficiency or pay up front for resilience and redundancy.
More ports, more stockpiles, better diplomacy. Each is a different way to buy stability. The next missile won't feel global. It will feel like a tiny change in ordinary life.
Comment your take, hit like, and subscribe to Economic 8-Bit so you never miss global economic breakdowns.